The sun was already high in the sky over Lagos, Nigeria's largest city. The streets were busy with people going about their day. Cars honked their horns and the smell of food cooking filled the air. In a nice part of town, there was a big house with a tall fence around it. This was where the Adekunle family lived. Inside the house, Mama Adekunle was rushing around. She was trying to get ready for work and make sure her children had everything they needed for school. Her husband, Baba Adekunle, had already left for his job at the bank. Tunde. Have you packed your soccer shoes? Mama Adekunle called out to her oldest son. Tunde was 14 years old and loved playing soccer. Yes, Mama. Tunde shouted back from his room. Mama Adekunle then turned to her daughter, Folake, who was 12. Folake, don't forget your math homework. Your teacher called yesterday to say you didn't turn it in. Folake looked down at her feet. I'm sorry, Mama. I'll make sure to give it to her today. The youngest child, 6-year-old Deo, was sitting at the kitchen table, swinging his legs and eating his breakfast slowly. Mama Adekunle sighed. At this rate, they were all going to be late. Hurry up, Deo, she said, patting his head as she walked past. We need to leave soon. Mama Adekunle looked around the messy kitchen and felt very tired. She and her husband both had good jobs, but it was hard to keep up with everything at home. The dishes from last night were still in the sink, and there were clothes that needed to be washed. She wished she had more time to clean and take care of things, but with her job as a teacher and 3 active children, there never seemed to be enough hours in the day. As she was thinking about all of this, there was a knock at the front door. Mama Adekunle wasn't expecting anyone, so she was surprised. She walked to the door and opened it. Standing there was a young girl. She looked about 16 years old, but it was hard to tell because she was very thin. Her clothes were old and a bit dirty, and she was carrying a small bag. The girl looked nervous, but she tried to smile. Good morning, Ma, the girl said softly. My name is Adanna. I heard that you might need help in your home. Mama Adekunle was surprised. She and Baba Adekunle had talked about getting someone to help around the house, but they hadn't told anyone yet. She wondered how this girl knew. Who told you we needed help? Mama Adekunle asked. Adanna looked down at her feet. I was at the market yesterday, Ma. I overheard your house help, Amina, talking to her friend. She said she was leaving to get married, and that you would need someone new. I'm looking for work, Ma. I can clean and cook and take care of children. Mama Adekunle remembered now. Amina, their part-time house help, had told them last week that she was leaving. With everything going on, Mama Adekunle had forgotten to start looking for someone new. She looked at Adanna more closely. The girl was young, but there was something in her eyes that seemed older. She looked tired and hungry, but also hopeful. Where are you from? Adanna Mama Adekunle asked. I'm from a small village in Enugu state, Ma, Adanna replied. I came to Lagos to find work and to have a better life. Mama Adekunle felt her heart soften. She knew how hard life could be for young people from the villages who came to the big city looking for opportunities. Come inside, she said, opening the door wider. Let's talk more. Adanna stepped into the house, looking around with wide eyes. She had never been in such a big, nice house before. Mama Adekunle led her to the kitchen, where Deo was still eating his breakfast. Tunde and Folake had finished and were in the living room, getting their school bags ready. Sit down, Mama Adekunle said, pointing to a chair. Would you like some tea? Adanna nodded shyly. Yes, please. Thank you, Ma. As Mama Adekunle made the tea, she called out to her older children. Tunde. Kunde. Folake. Come to the kitchen, please. The 2 children came in, looking curiously at Adanna. This is Adanna, Mama Adekunle explained. She's here to talk about helping us in the house. Can you 2 take Deo and wait in the living room for a few minutes? I need to talk to Adanna. Tunde and Folake nodded. Tunde helped Deo down from his chair, and the 3 of them left the kitchen. Mama Adekunle sat down across from Adanna and handed her a cup of tea. Now, tell me more about yourself, Adanna. How old are you? Where is your family? Adanna took a sip of tea before answering. I'm 16 years old, Ma. My parents died when I was young. I lived with my grandmother in the village, but she died last year. I have no other family. Mama Adekunle felt very sad hearing this. I'm so sorry, Adanna. That must have been very hard for you. Adanna nodded, her eyes filling with tears. But she blinked them away quickly. It was hard, Ma. But I knew I had to be strong. There was no future for me in the village, so I decided to come to Lagos. I've been here for 2 months, doing small jobs where I can find them. Where are you staying, Mama Adekunle asked. I've been staying with different people, Ma. Friends of friends of friends from my village, but I can't stay with them forever. I need to find a real job. Mama Adekunle thought for a moment. She and Baba Adekunle had talked about getting a full-time house help, someone who could live with them and help with the children and the housework. But they had been worried about finding someone they could trust. Looking at Adanna, Mama Adekunle had a good feeling. The girl seemed honest and hard-working, but she was also very young. Adanna, have you ever worked as a house help before? She asked. Adanna shook her head. No, Ma, but I took care of my grandmother when she was sick. I can cook and clean and do laundry. I'm a fast learner, and I will work very hard. Mama Adekunle nodded. She knew she should probably talk to her husband before making a decision, but something told her that this was the right thing to do. Okay, Adanna. I'm going to give you a chance. You can start today if you're ready. We'll try it for 1 month, and if it works out, you can stay longer. You'll live here with us, and we'll provide your food and a small salary. Is that okay with you? Adanna's face lit up with a big smile. Yes, Ma, thank you so much. I promise I will work very hard and not disappoint you. Mama Adekunle smiled back. Good. Now let me introduce you to the children, and then I'll show you around the house. She called the children back into the kitchen. Tunda, Folake, Deo, this is Adanna. She's going to be living with us and helping around the house. I want you all to be nice to her and help her if she needs anything, okay? The children nodded. Tunde, being the oldest, stepped forward and said, Welcome, Adanna. I'm Tunde. I'm 14. Folake waved shyly. I'm Folake. I'm 12. Little Deo ran up to Adanna and gave her a big hug. I'm Deo. I'm 6. Do you like to play games? Adanna laughed, hugging Deo back. Yes, I do like games. Maybe we can play later, if your mama says it's okay. Mama Adekunle felt relieved. The children seemed to like Adanna already. She looked at her watch and realized they were going to be late if they didn't leave soon. Okay, children, time for school. Adanna, I'll show you around quickly before I leave. I'll be back this afternoon, and we can talk more then. As the children grabbed their bags and headed out to the car, Mama Adekunle gave Adanna a quick tour of the house. She showed her the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the living room, and the kitchen. Your room will be here, she said, opening a door near the kitchen. It was a small room, but it had a bed, a wardrobe, and a window that let in plenty of light. Adanna looked amazed. This is all for me, she asked, her voice full of wonder. Mama Adekunle nodded. Yes, this is your room. You can put your things in here and rest when you're not working. Adanna put her small bag on the bed, looking around the room with a big smile. Now Mama Adekunle continued, I have to go to work. For today, can you wash the dishes in the kitchen and then start on the laundry? There's a washing machine in the back. I'll show you how to use it when I get home. If you finish those tasks, you can start cleaning the living room. Adanna nodded eagerly. Yes, Ma, I'll do everything you said. Mama Adekunle smiled. Good. There's food in the fridge if you get hungry. I'll be back around 4 o'clock. If you need anything urgently, here's my phone number. She wrote her number on a piece of paper and gave it to Adanna. With that, Mama Adekunle left for work, feeling hopeful about their new house help. Adanna stood in the kitchen after Mama Adekunle left, looking around at her new workplace. She took a deep breath and rolled up her sleeves. It was time to get to work. She started with the dishes, filling the sink with hot water and soap. As she washed each plate and cup, she thought about how lucky she was. Just yesterday, she had been worried about where she would sleep that night. Now, she had a job and a room of her own. After finishing the dishes, Adanna moved on to the laundry. She found a big basket of dirty clothes in the bathroom. She carried it to the back of the house where she had seen the washing machine. Adanna had never used a washing machine before in her village. They washed clothes by hand in the river. But she remembered Mama Adekunle saying she would show her how to use it later, so Adanna decided to wait. Instead, she took the clothes outside to a water tap in the compound. She found a bucket and some soap and began washing the clothes by hand. It was hard work under the hot sun, but Adanna didn't mind. She was grateful for the job and wanted to show Mama Adekunle that she could work hard. As she was hanging the wet clothes on a line to dry, Adanna heard a noise. She turned around and saw an older woman peering over the fence from the next compound. "Hello there," the woman called out. "You must be the Adekunle's new help. I'm Mrs. Okafor, their neighbour." Adanna wiped her hands on her skirt and walked over to the fence. "Good afternoon, Ma," she said politely. "Yes, I'm Adanna. I just started today." Mrs. Okafor looked Adanna up and down. "You're very young," she said. "Where are you from?" "I'm from Enugu State," Ma Adanna replied. Mrs. Okafor nodded. "Ah, I see. Well, be careful, young one. Lagos can be a dangerous place for village girls. Make sure you don't trust people too quickly." Adanna felt a bit uncomfortable. Mrs. Okafor seemed nice, but her words made Adanna feel worried. "Thank you for the advice, Ma," she said. "I'll be careful." Mrs. Okafor smiled. "Good, well, welcome to the neighbourhood. If you need anything, you can always call out to me." Adanna thanked her again, and Mrs. Okafor went back into her own compound. Adanna returned to her work, thinking about what Mrs. Okafor had said. She knew Lagos could be dangerous. She had heard stories in her village about girls who went to the city and got into trouble. But the Adekunles seemed like good people. Adanna decided she would be careful, but she wouldn't let fear stop her from doing her best in her new job. After finishing with the laundry, Adanna went back into the house. She found a broom and started sweeping the living room. As she worked, she looked at the family photos on the walls. There were pictures of Tunde, Folake and Deo when they were younger, and photos of Mama and Baba Adekunle on their wedding day. Adanna felt a pang of sadness, thinking about her own family, but she pushed the feeling away. This was her chance for a new life, and she was determined to make the most of it. The hours passed quickly as Adanna cleaned. Before she knew it, she heard the sound of a car pulling up outside. She looked at the clock on the wall. It was 4:00. Mama Adekunle was home. Adanna hurried to the door to greet her. Mama Adekunle came in, followed by the 3 children. "Welcome back," Ma Adanna said, taking Mama Adekunle's bag. Mama Adekunle looked around the living room with surprise. "Adanna, did you do all this? The house looks so clean." Adanna nodded, feeling proud. "Yes, Ma. I cleaned the living room and the kitchen. I also did the laundry, but I washed it by hand because I didn't know how to use the machine." Mama Adekunle looked impressed. "You did the laundry by hand? Oh, Adanna, you didn't have to do that. But thank you. You've done a wonderful job." The children ran off to their rooms to change out of their school uniforms. Mama Adekunle turned to Adanna. "Have you eaten anything today?" she asked. Adanna shook her head. She had been so busy working that she had forgotten to eat. "Oh, that won't do," Mama Adekunle said. "Come, let's get you some food. Then I'll show you how to use the washing machine next time." As they walked to the kitchen, Mama Adekunle asked Adanna about her day. Adanna told her about meeting Mrs. Okafor and about all the work she had done. "Mrs. Okafor is a nice woman, but she can be a bit nosy," Mama Adekunle said with a laugh. "Don't let her scare you. You're safe here with us." Adanna felt relieved hearing this. She sat down at the kitchen table while Mama Adekunle heated up some food for her. "Adanna," Mama Adekunle said as she put a plate of jollof rice and chicken in front of her, "I want you to know that you're not just a worker here. You're young and you're far from your home. We want you to feel comfortable and safe with us, if you ever have any problems or if you need anything. Please tell me or Baba Adekunle. Okay." Adanna felt tears coming to her eyes. She blinked them away and nodded. "Thank you, Ma. You're very kind." As Adanna ate, Mama Adekunle sat with her and told her more about the family and their routines. Baba Adekunle usually came home around 7 p.m. The children had different activities after school. Tunde had soccer practice, Folake had piano lessons, and Deo went to art class twice a week. "Your main jobs will be to keep the house clean, help with laundry, and sometimes help me with cooking," Mama Adekunle explained. "But I also want you to help keep an eye on the children when I'm not here. Especially Deo, he's still young and needs more attention." Adanna nodded, taking in all the information. It was a lot to remember, but she was determined to do well. After Adanna finished eating, Mama Adekunle showed her how to use the washing machine. Adanna paid close attention, amazed at how the machine could do in minutes what had taken her hours by hand. "Now, don't feel like you have to do everything in one day," Mama Adekunle said. "We'll set up a schedule for different tasks, and remember, Sunday is your day off. You can rest or go to church if you want to." Adanna was surprised. "I get a day off?" she asked. Mama Adekunle nodded. "Of course, everyone needs rest. Now, let's go meet the children. I'm sure they'll want to get to know you better." They found Tunde and Folake in the living room, doing their homework. Deo was playing with some toys on the floor. "Children," Mama Adekunle said, "I want you to make Adanna feel welcome. She's new to Lagos and doesn't know many people here." Tunde looked up from his books. "Adanna, do you like football?" he asked. Adanna smiled. "I do, but I'm not very good at playing it." "That's okay," Tunde said. "I can teach you some tricks if you want." Folake spoke up next. "Do you know how to braid hair, Adanna? I love trying new hairstyles." "Yes, I do," Adanna replied. "I used to braid my grandmother's hair all the time. I'd be happy to do yours sometime." Little Deo jumped up and ran to Adanna, holding out a toy car. "Will you play with me, Adanna? Please." Adanna looked at Mama Adekunle, who nodded with a smile. "Go ahead," she said. "You've worked hard today. Take some time to play with Deo." For the next hour, Adanna played with Deo, racing toy cars across the living room floor. She found herself laughing and having fun, something she hadn't done in a long time. Tunde and Folake joined in after finishing their homework, and soon the room was filled with laughter and the sound of children playing. As they were playing, they heard the front door open. A tall man walked in, wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase. This must be Baba Adekunle, Adanna thought. The children ran to greet their father, hugging him and talking all at once about their day. Baba Adekunle hugged them back, laughing at their excitement. Then he noticed Adanna, standing quietly by the side. "And who is this?" he asked, smiling kindly at her. Mama Adekunle came forward. "This is Adanna, dear. She's our new house help. I hired her today." Baba Adekunle walked over to Adanna and held out his hand. "Welcome to our home, Adanna. I hope the children haven't been giving you too much trouble." Adanna shook his hand, feeling a bit shy. "No, sir. They've been very nice." Good, Baba Adekunle said. He turned to his wife. "Have you shown Adanna her room? Is everything set up for her?" Mama Adekunle nodded. "Yes, everything is ready. Adanna has already done so much work today. The house is spotless." Baba Adekunle looked pleased. "Excellent. Well, Adanna, I hope you'll be happy here with us. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask." Adanna nodded, feeling overwhelmed by their kindness. "Thank you, sir." "Thank you, Ma. I'll do my best to help your family." As the evening went on, Adanna helped Mama Adekunle prepare dinner. She peeled yams and chopped vegetables, listening as Mama Adekunle explained how she liked things done in her kitchen. The smell of cooking food filled the house, making Adanna's stomach growl despite having eaten earlier. When dinner was ready, Adanna was surprised when Mama Adekunle told her to sit down at the table with the family. But Ma Adanna protested, "Shouldn't I serve the food and eat in the kitchen?" Mama Adekunle shook her head. "No, Adanna. In this house we eat together. You're part of the household now." Feeling a bit awkward but happy, Adanna sat down with the family. The meal was lively, with everyone talking about their day. Baba Adekunle asked the children about school, and they all had stories to tell. Even Adanna was drawn into the conversation, with Baba Adekunle asking her about her village and her journey to Lagos. After dinner, Adanna insisted on doing the dishes despite Mama Adekunle's protests. As she washed up, she could hear the family in the living room, talking and laughing. For the first time since leaving her village, Adanna felt a sense of belonging. Later that night, as Adanna lay in her new bed, she thought about everything that had happened. Just that morning she had been worried about where she would sleep and how she would eat. Now, she had a job, a room of her own, and people who treated her with kindness. She knew the work would be hard, and she still had a lot to learn. But as she drifted off to sleep, Adanna felt hopeful about her future for the first time in a long while. The next morning, Adanna woke up early, before the rest of the household. For a moment she was confused by her surroundings, but then she remembered where she was. She got out of bed quietly and got dressed, ready to start her first full day with the Adekunle family. She made her way to the kitchen and started preparing breakfast. She wasn't sure what everyone liked to eat in the morning, so she decided to make a variety of things: fried eggs, yam and tea. As she was cooking, Mama Adekunle came into the kitchen, looking surprised. "Adanna, you're up already. You didn't have to start so early," she said. Adanna smiled. "Good morning, Ma. I wanted to have breakfast ready for everyone." Mama Adekunle looked touched. "Thank you, Adanna. That's very thoughtful of you. But remember, you don't have to do everything. We're here to help each other." As they talked, Mama Adekunle showed Adanna where everything was kept in the kitchen. She explained what each family member usually liked for breakfast and their daily routines. "Tunda likes to have extra food because of his football practice," Mama Adekunle said. "Folake prefers fruit in the morning. And Deo, well, he'll eat anything as long as it's not vegetables." Adanna listened carefully, trying to remember all the details. She wanted to do a good job and make the family happy. Soon, the rest of the family started to come into the kitchen, drawn by the smell of food. Baba Adekunle looked impressed when he saw the spread on the table. "Adanna, did you do all this?" he asked. "It looks wonderful." Adanna nodded, feeling proud. "Yes, sir. I hope everything is okay." The family sat down to eat, and Adanna was once again invited to join them. As they ate, Baba Adekunle talked about a big meeting he had at the bank that day. Mama Adekunle reminded the children about their after-school activities. "Adanna," Mama Adekunle said, "today I'll show you how to pick up the children from their school. It's not far from here, and sometimes when I'm busy at work, you'll need to do it." Adanna nodded. "Yes, Ma. I'll be happy to help with that." After breakfast, everyone rushed to get ready for the day. Adanna helped Deo find his school shoes, which had somehow ended up under the sofa. She packed lunches for the children while Mama Adekunle made sure they had all their books and homework. As the family was leaving, Mama Adekunle turned to Adanna. "I'll be back around lunchtime to show you the way to the children's school. In the meantime, you can start with the cleaning. Remember, don't push yourself too hard. Take breaks when you need to." Adanna nodded. "Yes, Ma, thank you." Once the house was quiet, Adanna began her work. She started in the bedrooms, making the beds and tidying up. In Tundi's room, she found a pile of dirty soccer uniforms that she added to the laundry basket. Folake's room was neater, but there were books and papers scattered everywhere. Deo's room was a mess of toys, which Adanna carefully sorted and put away. As she worked, Adanna thought about her own family. She missed her grandmother terribly, and she wondered what the old woman would think of her now, working in a big house in Lagos. She hoped her grandmother would be proud of her for making a better life for herself. By the time Adanna finished cleaning the bedrooms and bathrooms, it was almost lunchtime. She went to the kitchen to start preparing some food for herself and Mama Adekunle. As she was chopping vegetables, she heard a knock at the door. Adanna hesitated. Should she answer it? Mama Adekunle hadn't said anything about visitors. But what if it was important? She decided to at least see who it was. She went to the front door and opened it cautiously. Standing there was Mrs. Okafor, the neighbour she had met yesterday. "Good afternoon," Adanna Mrs. Okafor said with a smile. "Is Mama Adekunle home?" "No," Ma Adanna replied. "She's at work. She'll be back soon for lunch." Mrs. Okafor nodded. "I see. Well, I just wanted to bring over some fruit from my garden. I always have too much at this time of year." She held out a bag filled with mangoes and oranges. Adanna wasn't sure what to do. Should she accept the fruit? Was she allowed to take things from neighbours? "Thank you, Ma," she said hesitantly. "But I don't know if I should take this without asking Mama Adekunle first." Mrs. Okafor laughed. "Oh, don't worry about that. Mama Adekunle and I have been neighbours for years. We're always sharing things. Go on, take it. I'm sure she'll be happy to have some fresh fruit." Still feeling uncertain, Adanna took the bag. "Thank you, Ma. I'll make sure to tell Mama Adekunle you brought it." Mrs. Okafor smiled. "Good girl. You're doing well, Adanna. Just remember what I said yesterday, be careful in this big city." After Mrs. Okafor left, Adanna took the fruit to the kitchen. She washed a mango and was about to cut it when she heard the front door open. Mama Adekunle was back. Adanna Mama Adekunle called out. "In the kitchen," Ma Adanna replied. Mama Adekunle came into the kitchen, looking at the fruit on the counter with surprise. Where did this come from? Adanna explained about Mrs. Okafor's visit. "I wasn't sure if I should take it, Ma. I'm sorry if I did the wrong thing." Mama Adekunle smiled. No, you did the right thing. Mrs. Okafor is always giving us fruit from her garden. It was good of you to accept it. But in the future, if anyone comes to the door when I'm not here, just tell them I'm not available and take a message. We need to be careful about security." Adanna nodded, relieved that she hadn't made a mistake. "Yes, Ma, I'll remember that." As they prepared lunch together, Mama Adekunle asked Adanna about her morning. She seemed pleased when Adanna told her about the cleaning she had done. "You're a hard worker," Adanna Mama Adekunle said. "But remember, pace yourself. You don't have to do everything in one day." After they ate, Mama Adekunle took Adanna to pick up the children from school. They walked to a nearby bus stop and took a short ride to the school. Adanna paid close attention to the route, knowing she would need to do this on her own in the future. The school was a large building with a playground full of children. Adanna was amazed at how many students there were. Her village school had been much smaller. "The primary school is here," Mama Adekunle explained, pointing to one side of the building. "That's where Deo is. Tundi and Folake are in the secondary school on the other side." They waited at the gate with other parents and caregivers. Soon, a bell rang and children started pouring out of the building. Adanna watched as Mama Adekunle waved to catch her children's attention. Deo came running up first, throwing himself into his mother's arms. "Mama." "Adanna." "You both came," he said excitedly. Tund and Folake followed more slowly, talking with their friends. When they reached Mama Adekunle and Adanna, they greeted them politely. "How was school?" Mama Adekunle asked as they started walking back to the bus stop. "I got full marks on my math test," Folake said proudly. "That's wonderful." Folake, Mama Adekunle said. "And you, Tundi?" Tunda shrugged. "It was okay. We have a big history project coming up." As they rode the bus back home, the children chatted about their day. Adanna listened, feeling a bit sad that she had never had the chance to go to a school like this. But she pushed the feeling aside. She was here to work and to make a better life for herself. Back at the house, Mama Adekunle had to leave for a meeting at her school. Adanna, can you watch the children? Make sure they do their homework before they play. Yes, Ma, Adanna said. I'll take care of them. Once Mama Adekunle left, Adanna turned to the children. Okay, let's get your homework done. Who wants to start? Dayo raised his hand eagerly. Me. I have to draw a picture of my family for class. Adanna smiled. That sounds fun. Let's get your crayons. As Dayo drew, Adanna helped Tunde and Folake with their homework. Tunde was struggling with a math problem, and Adanna surprised herself by being able to help him. How did you know how to do that? Tunde asked, looking impressed. Adanna shrugged. I always liked math in school. It was my best subject. Folake looked up from her English essay. Were you good at school, Adanna? Adanna felt a lump in her throat. I liked school very much, but I couldn't go for very long. I had to stop when my grandmother got sick. The children looked at her with sympathy. That's sad, Folake said. Don't you want to go back to school? Adanna didn't know how to answer. Of course she wanted to go back to school, but that wasn't possible now. She had to work to survive. Maybe someday, she said finally. But for now, I'm happy to be here with your family. The rest of the afternoon passed quickly. After homework was done, Adanna played with the children in the backyard. She taught them a game she used to play in her village, using stones and lines drawn in the dirt. As they were playing, Baba Adekunle came home from work. He watched them for a moment, smiling, before calling out, "What's this game?" "It looks like fun." The children ran to greet their father, all talking at once about the new game Adanna had taught them. Baba Adekunle listened patiently, then turned to Adanna. "Thank you for taking care of them, Adanna," he said. "I hope they weren't too much trouble." Adanna shook her head. "No, sir. They were very good." That evening, as Adanna helped prepare dinner, she felt a sense of contentment. The day had been busy, but she felt useful and appreciated. As she chopped vegetables and stirred pots, she could hear the family in the living room, talking and laughing. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine that she was part of this family, not just a worker in their home, but she quickly pushed the thought away. She was here to do a job, she reminded herself. She couldn't let herself get too attached. After dinner, as Adanna was washing the dishes, Mama Adekunle came into the kitchen. "Adanna," she said, "I wanted to talk to you about something." Adanna felt a moment of panic. Had she done something wrong? "Yes, Ma," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Mama Adekunle smiled reassuringly. "It's nothing bad, don't worry. I just wanted to ask you about your education. The children mentioned that you had to leave school early. Is that true?" Adanna nodded, feeling a mix of sadness and embarrassment. "Yes, Ma. I had to stop going to school when I was 14, when my grandmother got sick. I needed to take care of her and work to buy food and medicine." Mama Adekunle's face softened with sympathy. "I see. And you enjoyed school before that?" "Oh yes," Ma Adanna said, her eyes lighting up despite herself. "I loved learning, especially math and science. I always dreamed of becoming a nurse someday." Mama Adekunle was quiet for a moment, seeming to think deeply about something. Then she said, "Adanna, how would you feel about continuing your education?" Adanna's heart skipped a beat. "Continue my education? But how, Ma? I have to work." "We could arrange it," Mama Adekunle said. "There are evening classes for people who work during the day. You could study for your secondary school certificate. It would be hard work balancing your job here with studies, but if you're willing to try, we'd support you." Adanna couldn't believe what she was hearing. She felt tears coming to her eyes and tried to blink them away. "Ma, I don't know what to say. That's more kindness than I ever expected." Mama Adekunle reached out and patted Adanna's hand. You're a bright young woman, Adanna. It would be a shame to let that potential go to waste. Think about it, okay? We can talk more tomorrow. After Mama Adekunle left the kitchen, Adanna stood there for a long time, her mind whirling with possibilities. Going back to school had seemed like an impossible dream. But now, maybe it wasn't so impossible after all. That night, as she lay in bed, Adanna thought about everything that had happened since she arrived at the Adekunle house. In just 2 days, her life had changed so much. She had a safe place to live, steady work, and now the possibility of continuing her education. It was almost too much to take in. She thought about her grandmother, wondering what she would say if she could see Adanna now. She imagined her grandmother's weathered face, creased in a proud smile. "See, my child," she would say, "I always told you that your hard work would pay off someday." Adanna fell asleep with a smile on her face, dreaming of textbooks and classrooms and a future brighter than she had dared to hope for. The next morning, Adanna woke up early again, eager to start her day. As she prepared breakfast, she thought about Mama Adekunle's offer. The idea of going back to school both excited and scared her. Could she really manage both work and studies? What if she failed? As the family came down for breakfast, Adanna noticed that Mama Adekunle was watching her with a kind smile. After the children had left for school and Baba Adekunle had gone to work, Mama Adekunle sat down at the kitchen table and gestured for Adanna to join her. "Have you thought about what we discussed last night?" Mama Adekunle asked. Adanna nodded. "Yes, Ma, I've been thinking about it a lot. I would love to continue my education, but I'm afraid it might be too difficult. What if I can't manage both work and school?" Mama Adekunle reached out and took Adanna's hand. "Adanna, it won't be easy, but I believe you can do it. We'll help you. We can adjust your work schedule to give you time to study. And the children can help too. Aid and Folake are good students. They could help you with your homework." Adanna felt overwhelmed by the kindness being shown to her. "Why are you doing this for me, Ma? You barely know me." Mama Adekunle smiled. "Because I see potential in you, Adanna. You're smart, hardworking, and kind. You deserve a chance to build a better future for yourself. And, well, I'll be honest. Having you here, seeing how young you are and how much you've already been through, it reminds me of how fortunate my own children are. I want to help you the way I'd want someone to help my children if they were in your situation." Adanna felt tears welling up in her eyes. She quickly wiped them away. "Thank you, Ma. I don't know how I can ever repay your kindness.